Good evening, everyone. I am Jamel Strong, and welcome to Let's Talk About It, sponsored by the Fountain of Life, CDC. We are so excited to be here with you. This conversation tonight has great emphasis towards young people, the youth of our world, but not just for youth and young adults, for also those that are young in heart. You will also receive tools to help that person that is in your life that falls in the age bracket of who we are really focusing tonight. So we are very excited about you joining us. Do me a favor before we jump in. Please click like and share, and please comment. We are welcoming your interaction on this evening. We want to really dig in. We have a wonderful panel of people that are ready to jump in and just really share their hearts and share what God has even given them as a believer of the kingdom culture, how we should approach the pandemics of our world. So again, giving you time just to come in and join us. Click like, share, and comment. Invite others to join us. Also, you can pose your questions in the comments. And once you post your question, we'll be sure to try to get to it. We have a team that will try to get that to me and we will address it. So again, good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. And of course, before we get started, we want to take it, kind of toss it over to the visionary of this Fountain of Life CDC and the pastor of the Fountain of Life Church, of which the CDC is a wing of a component of that church ministry. We are very excited about the vision that God has given him. And I want you to help me welcome Dr. James Strong. Good evening, Dr. Strong.
Thank you, Elder Strong, and thank you, panelists, for being on tonight. And we're excited about this seminar tonight that let's talk about it. There's a lot to talk about, a lot going on in our society right now. And it affecting everybody from the youth all the way up to the adult, from the youngest to the old. And certainly on last Tuesday night, we had a very healthy conversation with the older age group, you would say. But on tonight, we certainly wanted to include the young adult, and so I'm looking forward to. We got some great panelists on tonight that's going to share their heart, share their feelings, share their experiences, and I think after this has finished tonight, we have better clarity on how to deal with issues, how to deal with circumstances. And that's the main thing in all of this, is how do we deal with issues when we run into them, and it's not when you're gonna have issue, but how you handle the issue when you have it. And so that's what we want to deal with tonight. And so I want to welcome everybody. Thank you. Thanks for all those working behind the scene to make this happen tonight. And so let's get going. Back to you, Elder Strong.
Thank you so much, Dr. Strong, and we're honored to be here. And thank you for allowing us to share. Before we jump in, I want to be sure to introduce our panel. I'll just give a brief synopsis about the different ones that we have tonight. The first one is Ms. Tatiana Rice. Tatiana is an overcomer who, through many obstacles, is succeeding in life. She is a former Calhoun Community College student who has now received a full tuition scholarship to the University of Alabama in the area of business marketing and political science. We are very glad to have you tonight, Tatiana. Also, we have Ms. Latoya Osborne. She's an impactful, family-oriented, genuine person with great love for people, and she is a graduate from Tuskegee University and a bold witness for Christ. She's a minister of the gospel, a young lady who loves the Lord and is excited and very involved in youth ministry and youth-oriented ministries and so issues that deals with them socially and spiritually. Welcome, Latoya. We're glad to have you. Also, we have Mr. Chris Deputy. He's a husband, a father of 2 sons. He is a graduate of Alabama A&M University with a degree in physical education. He is also an entrepreneur, an owner of the Dep City Barbershop for 13 years. And we are very excited about having him with us tonight. Welcome, Chris. And finally, but not least at all, we have kind of the aged wisdom on tonight who brings a breadth of experience, and that is Dr. Darnell Diggs. He is a graduate of Alabama A&M University, where he received his bachelor's, master's, and PhD in physics. He is presently employed by the Eglin Air Force Base there, and he's a research scientist. He was awarded the top 10 African-American male award excuse me, let me just read it. African-American males, whether free or incarcerated, and was named and awarded the top 10 African-American male award for the city of Dayton, and has received other notable community service awards. Dr. Diggs, we are very honored to have you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our panel, and we are excited, and we're going to just jump right in. Again, please like, share, and comment. And also, you can pose any question that you have there in the comments, and those questions will come to me, and we'll pose them to our panel. Of course, you know, we are dealing with a pandemic. We are quarantined. We are dealing with social distance. We're sheltered in place. I presently reside in Baltimore, Maryland, and as of Friday at 5 p.m., they shut that. There were some leniency where we could go in and we could dine in the restaurants, but now in the city of Baltimore, they shut that back down because they're being very, very proactive about the numbers and how they're rising and things of that nature. So our world around us has changed as we know it. 2020 is not the year that we thought it was going to be. So with that being said, I want to pose this question to Tatiana. As a young person trying to adapt to this new normal, as it's being called, what does social distancing mean to you as a Generation Z young lady?
All right. Well, social distancing means to me, first and foremost, being safe and following CDC and legal guidelines. So that means wearing your mask. That means trying to keep yourself safe, maybe not going out as frequently in large groups. However, it also means being more creative with how you communicate with people. I feel like a lot of people nowadays are looking at this as self-isolation, when in reality, I think people should look at this as an opportunity to learn new skills to communicate with their loved ones and their friends. For example, my grandma is one of my best friends. Like, prior to quarantine, I would go see her probably once, twice a week, maybe even more than that. And now I can't do that as much. However, you know, grandma still has a cell phone. So, you know, we can still FaceTime. She might not know how to use FaceTime initially, but, you know, we're now looking at this as an opportunity to learn new skills to communicate. Maybe figure out how to write a letter and mail it to your friend. Just connect. Even though you can't be face-to-face as much as you normally would, this is a great opportunity to learn how to use different skills. So social distancing, I want to reiterate, means following CDC guidelines and keeping yourself safe, but it also means finding new outputs to communicate with other people.
Awesome. Thank you, Tatiana. Well, just kind of sparking off what Tatiana has said, I'd like to pose this question to Mr. Deputy. As a millennial entrepreneur, as a business owner, what has social distancing meant to you, and what type of changes or modifications have you had to make? And even what effect has it been on you as a business owner?
Well, first of all, thank you all for having me on the panel. Sorry about that. I had a call or something came through. But social distancing has, it hasn't been really like a major thing for me specifically business-wise, because we were already kind of implementing an appointment system anyway, to kind of cut down on traffic, to minimize the kind of direct contact that you have with people, just mainly the person that's being serviced, and even someone that is, you know, like a parent bringing in a child, you know, they could either come in if they're assisting a smaller kid, or they could stay in their vehicle. And so the social distancing has not really, it hasn't been a major impact or anything like that. It actually just kind of almost reinforced where we were already going in ways. And personally, in my life, it hasn't been too challenging. The only thing for me is the extracurricular activities that may have been a challenge, as far as going to the gym, you know, working out, playing basketball, some of those things that help you burn off a lot of stress and a lot of the different things that we deal with just on the everyday aspect. So it hasn't been that difficult, but also it has been an adjustment, just because mentally you don't want to be selfish and think about just yourself as you go out and do what you do. But it's always kind of keeping in mind that it's about keeping your neighbors safe, the people that are around you. And so hopefully that is kind of.
Okay, I would like to ask you this too, Chris. Now, I know that at the beginning, there was a period of time where you actually could not go into your shop, right, and function and have clients. How long was that time, and was that an adjustment for you? What did you have to do? I know for some businesses, they have not made it through this pandemic. Some have closed. Even major companies have closed their doors. What was that experience for you as a millennial entrepreneur?
Okay. Well, luckily I can say that it wasn't too long of a period of time that we were out of work. I think roughly it was about 8 weeks, I believe, total, something like that, a little bit over a month, and not, well, 6 weeks, somewhere like that. Anyway, at first, you know, you're a little nervous just because you don't know what's to come. You think about the things that we all deal with, which are bills and being able to just provide for your family. Because for me, you know, I am like that breadwinner, so to speak, and everything. So it was, I can honestly say I never had a moment where I was worried. And I just kind of credit that because, you know, I just know that God always covers us during times like these, that we are unsure and we don't know what's what. And so I can say I kind of just had myself in a state where I was prepared. And it wasn't too long of a process. Go ahead.
What are some practical things that you did to prepare for a time like this? Because I want to make sure everybody plays with tools in whatever area.
Okay. Well, I can't honestly say that, you know, we knew a pandemic was coming like that. And so you just say, but specifically, as it relates to, you know, being a business owner, finances is a big thing. And so, you know, you don't want to find yourself in a position where you're living solely paycheck to paycheck. Right. If that helps, because, and also, you know, if you're not a responsible person taking care of your bills and things like that, because those were the things that kind of, I think for young people, we tend to just kind of live in the moment. We spend, you know, we always partying, we always buying maybe some unnecessary things that we may not need in the moment. We just get it just because. And so you just want to be smart just in your life, period, so that when situations like this arise, that you don't find yourself wondering, man, how am I gonna pay for this, pay for that? And so it really was just, it wasn't a situation for me that I had to make a major adjustment, because it just wasn't something that was that had me against the wall, so to speak. So I know it's really not giving someone the practical tools for that, because it was just kind of a situation that popped up on all of us. And so it was just a matter of your life being in a point to where, did it catch you off guard, where it had you, where you just didn't know how to handle it. But I can't say that I was in that position.
Right, I get it. But I know definitely like a savings, you know, most people savings to prepare you for what's coming up and going on. Okay, thank you. Just kind of moving on towards off of that, in that same vein, LaToya, I was talking to Tatiana about how it affected her. And she talked about her grandmother and finding new ways to stay connected in this present age. I want to ask you, what are some suggestions that you could give other young people or young adults also to help them maintain and establish new relationships during this time of social distancing?
This is the one question that I was hoping I would get skipped on.
That's what you were anointed for, huh?
But the things that I thought about, Tatiana actually mentioned, you know, crafting those relationships with people by using FaceTime, Zoom. I think I'm on a Zoom call every day, just about. Zoom, FaceTime, social media. But even when you're crafting those relationships on these different platforms, there still has to be a level of like virtual, I don't want to say rules, but etiquette in a sense, to where you're not abusing those types of avenues, if you will. Which this kind of flows into something else, you know, how can I explain it? You just have to, you can't abuse those avenues, basically, is what I was going to say. A lot of times the young people or Generation Z, who we're talking about, between the ages of 4 and 24, they're finding themselves at home and they're alone, possibly. It's really forcing them to get to know themselves and to also try to connect with their friends through Facebook. But we also need to make sure that they're not connecting with just random people, or that they're fostering healthy relationships with those individuals, that they're not sending inappropriate pictures or watching inappropriate things while they're at home when no one is watching. So I guess it all kind of ties in together. You know, you have to have a good balance, and this social distancing and this new normal is truly forcing us to know who we are and to truly be who we say we are when no one is watching.
So as the mother of a Generation Z son, right?
Right.
How old is your son?
12.
12, right. So what are some conversations that you have had with him and that you would even recommend other parents to have with their children when really explaining what is going on, which is something you've never seen in your lifetime either? What are some conversations that can help to maybe ease anxieties or bring some peace in the time of this pandemic?
That's a great question. I've had conversations with my son specifically about the things that I just mentioned, like when I'm not home and you're here, don't answer the door for anyone, you know, just things about protecting yourselves in a sense. Don't share your address with anyone. Like you said, my son is 12, so a lot of these things seem like common sense, but I have to constantly remind him, because they're on video games and they're on Roblox, or they're on Fortnite, and sharing all sorts of information with different people because they feel like, oh, they're my friend. So I've had those conversations with him about what to share, what not to share, what's important to know not to do. In terms of understanding the pandemic, I have to be honest, I have not explained an entire lot to him because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So we talk about his feelings and how does this make you feel? Most of his questions are about when will I be able to return to school? In his mind, this is an extended summer break. So right now, I don't think anything has truly transpired in his mind that would think that this is a time to worry. But now that we're hitting August, he's starting to hear, oh, we won't be able to go back to school? What is that? What do you mean I have to do this virtually? Right. Those types of things. So those that's one part of one bit of conversations that we have, but also more of his questions are about social justice and racial discrimination. So yeah. I don't want to veer off into that too much, but
we're going there. My son's yeah, that's where we're about to go. I just want to say this, as we prepare to really go into the other, as we're saying, pandemic that we're dealing with, some tools that they have given in dealing with your child or with that young person is approach your kids and ask them what they know. So a lot of times, first thing I would say to those parents that are out there, one of the tools that some counselors and highly sought out researchers have said is ask your kids what they know. And then once you hear what they do know, you can help to kind of fill in the gaps in some areas where with what you do know. And I appreciate your honesty in saying, you still trying to wrap your head around it. Because I think in some areas, in some ways, all of us are to a certain extent. Then it says also validate their feelings and concerns. Let me just explain. The kids may have all sorts of reactions to COVID-19. Some may be realistic, while others could be exaggerated. There are so many conspiracy theories that are out there now. I was watching this morning, last night, on CNN, they were speaking to Bill Gates. He was on Anderson Cooper's show because they have a conspiracy theory about how he's behind all of this. He was like, I don't have anything to do. But, there's so many conspiracy theories out there. Also, another tool would be available for questions and provide new information to people. So as citizens of this world, we want to be sure that we are sensitive to how people feel and what they're going through, young and old. And there's just a couple. I won't go into all the rest of them, but just really speaking to people and letting them know. Yes, sir, Pastor.
That's right. Before we leave, Latoya, I want to ask her a question. Mm-hmm. Latoya, what about your son? How you feel about not being able to interact with his friends? How's he dealing with that? Did she hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. My son is a little different. I don't think he is worried about not necessarily being able to connect with his friends. They all have cell phones. They all follow each other on Instagram. Most of them are on Xbox Live, so they're in each other's ear with the headphones at all times. The only time that we've had a conversation about connecting is not being able to see his church friends.
Okay.
We come from a community of people who go to church a lot. Right. So church is routine, it's in our schedules, it's in our routine. So the moment that got through off, I would say that was probably one of his concerns is, when am I going to see Chris? Or when am I going to see this one? Or when? So we're not going to Bible study. So I did get those types of questions, but I believe that we probably maybe fixed some of those things with the Zoom Bible studies and those sorts of things where they're being able to see each other. There have been instances where the kids have seen each other. This was early on in the when things first started, and the kids maybe hadn't seen each other for 3 weeks. And as soon as they saw each other, they just ran to each other, and the parents were like, "No." And you know, as parents, we were unsure. We don't want them hugging each other and they were dapping each other up. What's up, man? And the parents were more concerned than the children were. So I know that they're missing each other, you know, that personal touch to be able to physically touch one another, dap each other up. But I do think that they are supplementing those things with, you know, talking online or playing video games, because that's what they love to do anyway.
That's good. Good. Great. I want to ask Tatiana, and I think this will be the excellent segue to where we're going to go, even into social justice. So Tatiana is about to, in 2 weeks, I think she told me, she's going to the University of Alabama, where she has received a full scholarship. We applaud her. Put the hand claps in the comments. Put the hand claps in the comments. And please like, share, and comment. Invite others to come. Thank you, Dr. Diggs. You use your reaction. He got the hand clap reaction. But Tatiana has a full scholarship to the University of Alabama. And there's so many significant things about that. First of all, she's going to the University of Alabama, where once upon a time, the governor stood in the door and said nobody with her skin color was coming into his school. And now they're paying her to come and help to glorify the university. I love it. But also, she's going to school in a pandemic. Tell me about that, Tatiana. What is happening with that? Because there's so many other seniors, even high school seniors, that are going to college, and it's not the same transition that, you know, all the rest of us on here tonight experience. You're going in the midst of so many uncertainties. So share with me how they're handling that. What's the plan? All of that, and then you can end it talking about the fact of how we're going to our social justice, and I know that's your passion. So go ahead. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I will say, like, a year ago, I don't think anyone would have expected this a year ago. I thought I was going to have a traditional experience with just moving down there, going to class, enjoying football games, and making new friends. But even now, even today, there's still a lot of uncertainty for me. I've been battling back and forth of whether or not even moving down there would be worth it. One of my greatest fears is that I'm going to move down there, I'm going to be settled in, and then before you know it, there's going to be some cases on campus and they'll close down school. But the key thing that I'm trying to realize, and I think a lot of people need to realize, is this is just a time of uncertainty for everyone. And we just have to play it by ear and do our best to be safe. I know that they are having some on-campus classes, but even then, they're still going to try to follow social distancing guidelines. We're going to have to be tested before going. And of course, if you do test positive, you're going to have to quarantine yourself. But even then, everything that I'm saying right now could change a month ago. I mean, it took only a month for our entire lives to change. It definitely is very hard. A lot of the things that I've gotten scholarship-wise and all that would have had a banquet. Maybe I would have been able to travel. I was supposed to go to Texas, see some of my friends. That didn't happen. But at the same time, I know that there are so many people who have it worse. And I'm trying to remain positive, because at the end of the day, life doesn't stop just because all of this is going on. I still have to go to school. I still have to remain focused. And just like me, I'm sure the school administrators are also uncertain about what they're going to do. So for now, I'm just playing it by ear. It is going to be a little bit disheartening, because I know that my college experience, at least probably for the next 2 years, won't be like many people before me and maybe the people after me. But I'm still grateful to go down there and see what life has for me there.
So in talking about, social justice Dr. Diggs, I want to ask you, many youth appear to express hatred and violence towards, racial injustice. What are some of your suggestions for addressing racism without being destructive?
Well, I mean, okay, so like Chris, thank you for being here. I was thinking about when you posed that question, I was thinking about John Lewis, the late John Lewis, and how he was a young person, and they were nonviolent. So you can respond in a nonviolent way. You can respond in an intelligent way, but more because I'm a minister, I also want to talk about how I'm dealing with this as we speak, having a series at my church. The title is Choosing Kingdom Over Culture, because the culture will dictate a lot of different things and have you, in your feelings. But what is your biblical response? And God has given us that, like you share with me a quote from John MacArthur, Elder Jamil, about if you study the word expertly, you can address any culture at any time. And so I think that if we renew our minds with the word of God, and I'm not trying to over spiritualize this, I'm not saying be ignorant to what's going on, because I believe you must have a global view of the world in which you live and understand what's happening, as it relates to current events. But there is a biblical response to all of this. And because I think that we're just not in the midst of a physical pandemic, as you said, but we're also in the midst of a cultural and societal pandemic, as well as a spiritual one. So there's a response to all of it.
There is a response. There is a response. So let me ask you, Chris, how did you feel, or did you feel when you saw the officer with his whole body pressed into Mr. Floyd's neck? We were in a pandemic, shut down. So it was all eyes. Like this is not something we could avoid. We couldn't avoid not seeing it because we were going to church or because we were going to school. Everybody, it had our undivided attention. What type of emotion did that raise from you, and what did it make you want to do, or did it make you want to do?
Well, from me, first of all, I try my best to see things from the perspective of where I guard my heart. Just because your initial reaction to things like that is like, why? Why us? Why do we always go through these things? Why is it that we're so easily a target for issues like this? It's as if like when it happens to us that everybody has an explanation as to why it happened. It's like, no, it just shouldn't happen, period. It's like you shouldn't have to defend anything, justify anything. That's just not how you deal with a human being, and the fact that things are being recorded and you see tons of people watching a situation happen and it just still happens. It's like that. I want to believe that situation would have been different had it not been a man of color, and the fact that it just happened like that, my initial reaction was just, it's just that feeling that you want to do something, but you just like I said, you want to guard yourself from it turning into hate, or feeling like someone's action make you see a whole race of people a certain way, but the fact that of my lifetime, seeing things like this, things that we have read about, heard about, watched, on maybe a movie or documentary or something like that, but to see real life issues happen during our time, it's something that make you have to guard your heart, and like I said, not fill your heart with hate from it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some questions. I'm gonna pose them to the panel. Before I go to them, I do want to give Tatiana a chance, because I know you have been politically involved in the past. What are some things even for you, maybe that you have done, or what is it that you can maybe pose that other young people can do to let their voice be heard in the movement?
All right. So first things first is I really think young people need to vote. I'm pretty sure this sounds like a broken record. And a lot of people feel disenfranchised, especially after what happened in 2016. And even with the current election cycle that's happening right now. However, if there's one thing I could say, young people need to register to vote. It takes less than 15 minutes of your time. You can do it from the comforts of your own home. Reach out and reach your congressmen, your representatives, because believe it or not, if you call that office, someone is on the other side. Someone is listening. Someone is going to write you back. You might not feel like your voice matters, but it actually does. And especially with the state of our country and where it's going, we need as much participation as humanly possible. I will never speak on who anyone should vote for, but regardless, get out there and vote, get active in the political process, because young people, I feel like they don't understand how much power they have. They are the second largest voting bloc in this country. And if they actually actively get involved in local elections, get involved in politics, they can see a lot of the changes they want to see in this country. So one, vote. Another thing is social media activism works, but there's so much more that we can be doing. Posting a Black square on Instagram is great. You know, you're standing in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and police brutality victims, but what else are you doing? Sign petitions, leave links to causes that you care about. If you care about mass incarceration, donate to a bail bond fund. You know, if you care about issues, take the time out of your day to get involved. There's so much more we could be doing besides spreading hashtags. We could be talking to our family members. We could be talking to our congressmen. Right now, Breonna Taylor's, her murderers, they still haven't been charged. And it's like there's so many other victims that could enjoy some attention. So really all I can say is, yes, be online, create awareness, but don't just let it end on the internet. Talk to the people in your community and get involved.
Thank you. All right, I want to pose this question. Oh, go guess, go ahead.
I wanted to add to that. I think that was awesome. I thought about a quote that I heard that said, we're talking about violence and looting and things of that nature with this generation. First of all, this generation is a lot more bolder than any generation we've ever seen. They're more vocal, they're bold, they do whatever in a sense. So I heard a quote that said, looting is the language of the unheard. And I think it's important for us to let them know that we hear them first and foremost. And it takes a little to no talent at all to be violent. I would suggest to a young person to use their gifts and their talents by maybe starting a podcast. Use that podcast to talk about what you're truly concerned about. March peacefully. If you're a writer, write an article, submit it to your local newspaper. If you are into music, write a song, put it on YouTube, blast it across whatever platform you like it to, whatever platform you like. But those are some, and of course, vote. So those, I just wanted to add on to give some suggestions to what Tatiana was mentioning.
Yeah, thank you. I think Pat, you have to unmute. Which is
yes, I'm enjoying this and certainly have enjoyed Tatiana and Victoria. You were talking to Chris a while ago, and he mentioned concerning God's heart, and it is very easy to allow yourself to get bitter when you're seeing all the injustice that's going on, and the things that we are dealing with, and you all looking at now. 50 years ago, we looked at these same things. We heard about the John Lewis and the civil rights movement back in the early 50s. Now, but this is a new day. It's a new day, and You got to get involved, as Tassie and Latoya said. You got to get involved. You can't sit on the sideline, and you can't listen to people say your vote don't matter. Your vote do matter. You know, you have some people, oh, it don't matter, especially say here in Alabama, because we're so-called red state. But 10 to 12 years ago, this was not a red state. This was more of a Democratic state. And because they was able to get in office and redraw the lines and what we call jury rigging the different districts so they could keep the power. So, but what we got to do, we got to go out and vote in great numbers. You got not only vote yourself, but you got to encourage somebody else to go to the polls and vote. And I want to give y'all one scripture as we move on into this social justice thing that God told Micah many years ago, and he posted to his comrades of his age and his era in Micah 6 and 8. And now if we can hold to this, he said, he has shown thee, O man, what is good, and what do the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, love mercy, and to walk humbly before thy God. I think in our being involved and maybe on the front line working, whatever you do, you got to do it. That's what Lewis stood by. I mean, he done justly, he done what's right, and he didn't let hatred get in his heart to blind his focus. Because when hatred get in your heart, blind your focus, next thing you're gonna start going back to eye for eye. You're gonna go back to that kind of thinking, and you don't want to do that. But I think if you, as we deal with the injustice of our time, and even as we go forward, it's not going anywhere. Some gains going to come out of this. All this, that the Breonna, the Floyd, the young man that got killed in Georgia, some gains going to come out of this, and some things going to change, because in come November, the administration going to change, and so some gains going to come out of it. But it's not all going away. And so as we move forward, I would say to young people, get involved. Don't be afraid to run for local office. I mean, run for your school board, run for city council, run for commission. Tassiana, she's a bright young lady. I hope to see her in politics and making a difference in the world. You can do it. You're allowed to be the governor of Alabama one day. You never know. You're allowed to be you're allowed to make it all the way to Congress, being a senator. You can do it. Don't never feel like you can't do it. You can do it. You have the ability, you have the quality to do it. Can't hear you.
Thank you. I want to thank you so much for that, Dr. Strong. I want to get to some of the questions that our viewers have posed. And what I'll do is I'm going to ask the question, and I want you all to jump in there, okay? To whoever, for all four, either one, kind of jump in and answer this if we can. The first one is, this is from a young person, it seems as though. It says, my parents have to return to work and I have to stay home and try to get my work done on the computer. What tips can you give me to be successful? Pamela.
Okay. As someone who is going to have to do my schoolwork online for some of this semester, first things first is try to get rid of all the distractions you can. If you know that your cell phone is a distraction, this is going to sound like such a parent thing to say, but put it in another room, turn it off. One thing that I know is whenever I come home, I personally can't seem to focus. So one thing that I did while we did have school was I would try to do all my homework at school. If you know that being in your room is going to make you sleepy and make you want to take a nap, do your homework in the dining room, do it in the living room. Just try to find somewhere where you can focus and just hone in on your work.
Okay. Anyone else want to touch that more before I go to the next one?
I would say create a schedule. One thing that works for my son is I literally write out a schedule for him and say, you're going to wake up, I know he's not going to wake up at 7 if I'm not at home. Wake up at, whatever time you need to wake up, whether it's 8 or 9 a.m., do this, do that, give yourself some realistic time periods that you're going to do this, that you're going to do that, you're going to do X, Y, Z. So I would say that starting a schedule is a good start.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like she, and just, to chime in, just like she said, I think young people do better with a structured environment, where things are just set out what it is that they need to do, because if not, they'll easily get distracted, especially when you're talking about school. So just having things structured, prioritizing and saying, okay, this is what comes first. Let me handle that. And then everything else after that, comes after. So.
Okay.
I would even suggest to a parent, to the child, once you're on your schedule, begin to check things off of your list. Like, I did this or I did that. And I think it's good for parents to reward your young people when you see that they're on task and they're completing the things that they have listed on their things to do list. Yeah.
Also, I would add too, I think it's good to have hard stop times, like a time when you begin something and when you end it. Like have structured time, as you all speaking the structure, but have a hard stop time where you really, because in school, you have the time, the start time, the stop time, especially if they're going 7 periods or block time, and then get up and stretch, get some movement, get some air, so you can get the juices flowing, as they say, and then go back into it, but have that structured time with hard start and stop times. All right, another question that was posed to the panel. During this time of social distancing, I am concerned about my child who is already shy. What can I do during this time to make her feel more comfortable when she has to go back out amongst people? Panel.
I'll just throw this out there. I think using this social media platform, I think it would help if they would just kind of engage, especially on different platforms that are positive, but just engage more, with people that way. I think it helps to break down that so-called being shy and not talking to people, because the more you hear yourself, you see yourself interact with other people, it gets better. We all deal with, I guess you can say it to some degree, but just engaging on these social media platforms a little bit more and not keeping to yourself, still finding ways to get out of your comfort zone of being alone to yourself. So I think that would help.
Right. This is a question that was posed directly to Tatiana. What questions did you ask your guidance counselors or your counselors when preparing for college?
So one thing I will say, going to a community college, I didn't necessarily have, I would say, a guidance counselor. But one thing that I did ask the admissions office or some of the people at my next institution was like, how can I get involved? I was heavily involved at Calhoun, and most of my involvement actually came from my peers. Like, I learned how to get involved with the Honor Society through some of my peers that were in the honors program. I learned how to get involved with SGA from one of my friends who happened to be the SGA president the previous years. But one thing I will say with your guidance counselor, if you are going from high school to college, is ask them, what can I do to improve? Like, what is going to put me in the best position whenever I get there? Especially now that you're not going to have that traditional college experience. Ask them, like, what are some tips, to help me through this time? And try to stay in contact with your previous institution and your next institution. Like, what can I do to put my best step forward? Because the things that I would normally do at Calhoun is going to be completely different at UA.
Okay. All right. Another question that is posed, and I thank you all that are there. We still have a few minutes, so you can still send your question in before we close down, and we'll try to close it with our wonderful panel tonight. Now more than ever, cyberbullying may become a problem. What advice can you give a child who may be bullied online?
Okay. Okay, first things first. A lot of social media platforms have things that you can monitor the language on your profile. For example, if there's certain words you don't like, you can usually filter those out. I would say if you're a kid, definitely talk to your parents. No one should feel alienated online. Worst case scenario, it's still an electronic device. You can always delete the profile, but that is like one of the last piece of advice I would get. Definitely be careful with who you add. If you know there's someone who is a negative person, maybe speak to them first. Tell them you don't like how they're speaking to you. Worst case scenario, just unadd them, block them. Blocking is normal. Completely block people if you know that they're a bad influence on your life. Like, that's really all there is to it. I would just say, just know yourself and do what you need to do. It is okay to block people, unfollow. It is okay, even if you need a mental health break, to delete your social media. We do it all the time. Just don't feel like you're stuck. You don't have to be on a platform because you think it's cool. You really don't have to.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that as well. You do not have to be on the platform if you're not comfortable. The one good thing and bad thing about the internet is that there is a place for everybody. So normally, if you're a gamer, the gaming community is friendly, or you fit in with the gamers. If you're into fashion, then you need to find the fashion community online. So find your niche and don't just find the crowd. Find what fits you and explore there.
But I would say also keep in mind that social media is a platform for both the sane as well as the insane, just like you have in the natural.
True that. Very true. All right. Now, before we go, one more question I do want to pose, and this is actually to you, Dr. Diggs, as an African-American male who has gone on to receive numerous graduate degrees, what kind of inspiration can you give a young person that is watching now that feels like, oh, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough money, or I've failed? What type of inspiration can you give a person that says, and let them know you can do it, don't stop, and if you fail, that doesn't mean it's the end. The person to be resilient and keep pressing. Go ahead.
Yeah, because first, I mean, if you do fail, that's the difference between failing and being a failure. Those are two different things. And so just because you do fail, and it's great, failure is also good because that means you maximize your potential. You don't know, how far you can go if you're not failing. I'm concerned if you're playing safe like that. But also just realizing you're creating the image of God. Is God ignorant? God is intelligent. God is also brilliant. God is very smart. God is, great. All those attributes that you have, that he has, he said that he created you in his image and in his likeness. So it's up to you to display those qualities in the earth, believing that. And so, even studying, you got to do the work, of course. I'm not saying just believe. You have to put forth action. Because I failed physics, and I was told that I should change my major to something else because no one would hire anybody that's dumb. A professor told me that, and so that happened. But you have to choose not to live your life in the words of other people. You have to believe. It is warfare. It's intellectual warfare. You have to press through a lot of barriers. You have to deal with yourself to be able to know that you can. You have to believe it. It's internal, because private victory precedes public victory. So you succeed privately first, and then it's an outward display publicly. So you have to make that up in your mind that you're going to do that. And so, and that's going to be easy. That's great. You want to deal with those things that are cognitively demanding, and it takes work, as opposed to just filling your mind up with cognitive junk food that we see on Facebook. It's this junky. I mean, it's trash. It doesn't do anything for your mind and build you up. So you have to separate yourself and choose that, make a decision. And that word decision, decision, like, decision, it means like to cut away the other options. So failure is not an option for you. Success is. And so you have to believe that, and then, put forth the effort to make it happen. And if you have any setbacks, okay, get up and do it again. That's what I believe.
Very good. Right quick, we have 2 more questions, and then, because our time is, I tell you, they say time flies when you're having a good time. And so we're almost at our time limit, but I do want to ask these 2 questions. One is, how do you monitor your child's activities while online? They want to know how to monitor their child's activity online. What do you do?
Well, I would say I've been through this one so many times. First, parents, check the history. It's simple. Go in the phone, check the history. But if they gotten smarter, which a lot of them have, depending on the type of phone that they have, they can browse privately. So being the parent and you pay the cell phone bill, there is a way to install certain things, or to lock the phone, and to make it where they can't browse in private mode. Or if you want to be super sneaky, you could put an app on their phone that lets you know exactly where they're being, when they're on there. It's in live time. I wish I had the app name here before me, but I have used it before. So it does work. Also, you can, like Tatiana mentioned, you can go in the phone and block websites, or you can block apps. You can put the phone in a child mode to where they can't visit any websites that aren't PG or PG-13 or whatever, a certain rating that they can't visit. So those are just a few things about how to monitor. But also, kids are not always that smart. You can sometimes get them to tell on themselves. You take the phone and say, why you been on that website? That works for me. And it's like, so there are a lot of different ways to do it.
Is he watching tonight? Because he's gonna know all your little
No, he's not. He's not watching right now. But I don't care if he knows or not. It didn't even matter.
Okay, great. This is another question, and I'll kind of shoot this towards you, Chris. How do you encourage a young entrepreneur who feels the dream of entrepreneurship may be deferred due to the pandemic?
Okay. Well, I'll just say there's never a bad time to make a move, period. Because to kind of go back to when Dr. Diggs was talking about failure and things like that, is failure and failing is when you just sit in your head and you quit or you don't try at all. you know. And so when you during these times, you know, you want to have a game plan together, because it won't stay like this, you know, forever. Things will change, things will live, things will get better. And so if you're already ready, you know, to go forward and move forward with what it is that you're trying to do, it's just preparing, you know, doing what it is that you need to do. So it's never necessarily a standstill moment, you know. It's just an opportunity to prepare yourself so that when it's time to move, when it's time to go, you're ready to go.
And it depends on, I mean, I know you deferred to Chris, but I know it depends what type of business it is, right? I mean, online businesses are booming now. This is the time to be tech savvy, to and work from home. People are doing it, and they're making millions from just being online.
Yeah.
So it depends on, if you're talking about doing hair, then that's something totally different. But you know.
Well, even with that, I saw a lot of barbers, even beauticians, they were doing online classes when we were shut down, and people were paying to see, and some barbers were even walking people through how to cut their own hair, and they were paying them for that. You have to be innovative, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that this is a time where also we're having to transition from a lot of traditional ways of doing things. You know, we're moving into a internet era heavy, you know, where we all have to kind of just embrace this new platform. And so I think that's just the main challenge of it all, is that we're seeing life kind of transition to the next phase. And so we're all having to make that adjustment, whether it's comfortable or not, whether you're prepared or not. You know, it's really forcing you to do it. So it's just a matter of understanding everything that we need to understand and kind of embrace it.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so this is what we're going to do to close out tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I'm going to ask each panelist, you're going to have 30 seconds as a final word to encourage our listeners, whether young or old, but of course our emphasis is for our young people, to encourage them in the midst of these multiple pandemics that we're dealing with, a word of encouragement to them. And then after Dr. Diggs, we'll start with Tatiana, and then we'll go to LaToya, then Chris, and we'll end with you, Dr. Diggs, and then Pastor, you can take it and for our closing, whatever final words you have. All right. Tati.
All right. I just want to say that remember that all of this, it might seem like forever. This is just a season. It's going to be a rough season, maybe longer than we anticipated, but just know that even though we can't be together physically, that we're still together. We're all in this together. Just take this time and use it as a mode of creativity. Get creative with your communication. Learn more about yourself and use this as an opportunity to better yourself in the future to come.
I'd like to encourage every young person who is watching to realize that, as Tatiana said, that this is just a season. Everything is new, and you're not the only one who is not sure of how things are going. Adults are not sure either. I also like to encourage you to take this time to get to know who you are, discover who you are, find out what your purpose is, figure out, learn a new skill. But also don't forget about the things that you were taught before we got here. Use those skills, be the person that you were trained to be before we got here. When you're on social media, be a good person. Remember the golden rule, and we'll make it out together.
I'll go back and kind of, say what I said back in the beginning about, guarding your heart. I think this is a tough time, especially dealing with social injustice. This is not the first time and probably won't be the last time that we'll see some things happen. But, the Bible talks about guarding your heart because from it flows the issues of life. And so you don't want things to affect you in a negative way to where you have hatred in your heart. And so just understand that in life, you have to learn how to filter certain things, and you want to make sure that you put everything in its proper perspective and stay positive during this time, stay around positive people. Don't just jump on social media and use it as an outlet to just throw, things everywhere. And so stay positive, just guard your heart, and God is in control.
Yeah, and to the young people, I would like to say that this is your time. I mean, this is the time to thrive. I mean, I encourage you to be, to be curious, meaning that, look for problems that you can solve and to be able to contribute to. I mean, it's a different time, yes, but it's your time. And for the elderly people, they're passing the baton on to you because you're here for such a time as this, and you have what it takes to do it, to answer these problems, to solve these critical problems that we are facing, and searching the matter out to better understand what's going on. Don't allow this pandemic to overwhelm you. Like Tatiana said, and everybody quoting you, Tatiana, this is just a season, and seasons do pass. They do change. And so just be encouraged. And another thing, millennials and Generation Z, you have to do just like every other generation has done in the past. That means you have to pay attention and listen to the other generations. There's nothing new under the sun. You don't know everything. You may think you do, but you don't. You have to listen to your history. Your history will inform you of how you should conduct yourself, now in the future. So pay attention to details, know your history, know where you come from. Do a lot of reading. Do not believe everything that you see or hear on Facebook. It is cognitive junk food. Some of it is. And so pay attention to the details, trust but verify. Make sure the sources are something you can trust before you go back out and repeat that stuff. All right. So get in the know. All right. Over to you, Pastor.
Thank you. All the panelists, y'all have done a marvelous job tonight. Thank you, Elder Strong, for hosting. You've done a superb job. And hopefully we have achieved the goal that we wanted to achieve tonight, is to reach our young people and encourage them during this time of COVID-19 and the racial unrest that we got going on in our society right now. And I can say this too shall pass, and we will get through this. But the question is, how will you be on the other side? When you come out of it, will you be a better person, or will it make you a worse person? Okay? Because Paul said to the Philippians 4:13, Paul said, I can do anything. He was going through some things. He was dealing with some backlashes with doing this apostleship, and they were coming against him, and they want to support him, they want to accept him, and what have you. But Paul said, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And I said to our young people, build a relationship with Christ. You notice Dr. King, you notice John Lewis, you notice C.T. Vivian, and all these civil rights icons. They had a relationship with God. They was able to withstand the abuse. So you can withstand a lot when you got God in your life. You can hold firm to your belief. You're not wishy-washy. You got a firm belief on what is right, and then what God has required of you as an individual. That is to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before God. Can't leave God out. You can't listen. I don't care how far we go in life, how much we achieve. God must be first. Matthew 6:33. First seek ye the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto us. So if we as individuals, young people and older people alike, if we keep Christ first in our life, we can help to be successful. Successful. Remember what God told Joshua? Joshua, you just focus on doing what's right. Keep the law. Don't turn to the right or to the left. He said, doing so, you're gonna make your own way prosperous. So I said to us that, and I close with this, I said to us that when we come out of this, we're going to be a stronger and a better people, because why? We trusted God and held true to his word. And God going to see us through. God bless you. I love all of you. Thank you for participating, please.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Ms. Tatiana Rice. Thank you, Ms. Latoya Osborne, Chris Deputy, Dr. Darnell Diggs. Everyone, please have a wonderful evening, and thank you for joining us for Let's Talk About It. Bless you.